This podcast is produced by OnPod, a video content studio near you. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today I am with Eric. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
So you've built over 40 businesses, and I'm kind of curious, like, what's the one thing that you look for before deciding like this is a good idea?
So when we talk about the 40 businesses,
Yeah.
those were in my previous, prior to entrepreneurial career when I went full time.
Yeah.
Those were working with companies like Hewlett Packard, HP, American Express,
Okay.
Sun Media. So when you're doing businesses like that, it's really around the numbers and the economics and making sure that you have the right market share. And most of the businesses that I did were doing service delivery and operations. So when I do that, it was really around, can I provide the service more efficiently and cost effectively than what the client is currently able to deliver to themselves? So I always focused on identifying areas where there were quality gaps that I could improve, efficiencies in terms of processes. Because if you can come into work with a client and you can help them identify a gap or an efficiency within their business, that has tremendous value. If you save them $2 or $3 million off the hop, it's a lot easier for them to kind of support your expense as you move forward.
Yeah, 100%. What's the biggest mistake most entrepreneurs make when starting out, do you think?
Most entrepreneurs, when they start, they're probably 2 to 3. And the first one is going to be not understanding the value of their time.
Yeah.
If they don't understand,
I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't understand where your time is being spent and what value it has, it's very easy to get distracted and pulled into different directions. They end up listening to a lot of other people and getting pulled into the wrong direction or focusing on the wrong thing. The other thing that I find very much aligned with it is whether or not where are they getting their advice from? What's the source of information? And most entrepreneurs say, hey, I'm going to ask my mom or my dad. And when I asked my dad about some of the businesses that I'd built, he would always say, that's never going to work. But his experience was as an executive in very large multinational organizations, building manufacturing plants and exporting like bauxite around the world.
Okay.
He doesn't have any context around what a service or a production or sales or marketing kind of business is. He doesn't have that expertise. So making sure that you're speaking to somebody, A, who has relevant background and information, and B, has who's probably tried it. Because if they've tried it before and failed, they'll likely tell you what not to do.
That makes sense. How do you guide founders to validate their business model without burning too much time and money?
It is getting them to keep it as simple as they can. Most people, when they're designing a business, it's because they have this idealized image of what the business is going to look like. And not to pick on them, but engineers are notoriously horrible at this. They have the perfect idea and they want to see it executed perfectly. And the idea of good enough to ship is what you need to get to. The faster you can get to the point where you put a half-baked product in a customer's hand and they pay for it, you're always going to be better off than waiting a year or 2 years to put a perfect product in their hand. Because by the time you do that, it's probably not going to be what they want.
Yeah.
It forgoes that iteration component of the business.
Yeah, you can always start small and keep building over top. And I am building a new booking system for my company, and I'm also building a new backend system for storage and all this stuff for clients access. And I was kind of told the same thing, like, do you need all this, or can you start with just this?
Yeah,
because obviously cost.
Pick a feature function, execute it, and deliver. And I had to do the same thing when setting up my co-working space. I had a perfect idea of how everything was going to look and work, and I got it to 80%. And I stopped there and I opened the doors. And once people came in, I then started getting real world feedback from those individuals who were like, no, it'd be great if we had this, or it'd be great if I had a stand for my monitor. Those little touches and details you do. And the other thing is very often people try to fix all of the problems at once. It's actually not a great idea because what you do is you end up if you say, for example, we're working with a client for the next 3 years, and the person gives you a whole bunch of feedback within the first 2 months, and then the third month you fix everything, there's absolutely nothing else for them to ask for the rest of the time. So what I would do is I would every month kind of prioritize and identify one key thing that would make a big difference to the most people and make that change. And I remember talking to one of my clients, Casey Lee. He has a company called BiteSite. And what he would do, he told me after about a year or two of being with me, he goes, you know what I love about being here? Things always get better.
Interesting.
Right? So there was an iterative improvement process that they were seeing, and they felt like they were fully engaged in it. If I just gave them the fire hose of all the changes at once, they'd be like, great.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about the fact that, if you build it small, then you can ask for, a little bit more, you can ask questions to your clients and see what they want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you realize that it's not exactly what you were going to build, but maybe that's better.
It is what they're willing to pay for, and it matches their needs.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you've scaled a business from 30 to 375 employees.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What's the key lessons from that kind of growth, from that kind of rapid growth? And how long did that take?
That took me about 18 months. Yeah.
Must have been a good business, right?
Well, again, that was large corporate.
Yeah.
Easier to do it when you have large corporate and big budgets.
Yeah.
When I first started it, the key thing for me was making sure that the fundamentals of the infrastructure, resources, and training for the staff were there. Once we were able to train the staff and get the resources and infrastructure correct, so they had the right tools in hand and they worked correctly, great. Then I needed to work on making sure that there was alignment between the tools and resources and what controls they had. So how much autonomy did the individual have to actually fix a customer's problem when they called in? And then the third thing I did was also work on quality assurance. So making sure that my customer satisfaction scores, I moved away from looking at quality assurance from, hey, did you do X, Y, and Z as a checklist, and asking the question of the employees of, how do you think that customer's experience was? What did they call in to ask a question about? And did you resolve it? Do you do it in a timely manner? Was it professional? Were you courteous? Did you inform and educate a person? Or did you just fix it behind the scenes and pass them on their way? And the person has no concept or idea of how you actually got to that resolution. So they have no way of being able to be engaged or part of that solution and feel like they were engaged in it. And once I focused on that, it took my customer satisfaction scores with actually all the businesses that I ran with, Rogers, Comcast, Hewlett-Packard, American Express. I was always top internationally in customer service.
That's amazing.
And that was just because of focusing not necessarily on the quality checklist, but on the customer's experience.
Yeah.
And that's a very common, normal thing today.
Yeah.
But at the time, a lot of people didn't focus on it, and I still don't think that today a lot of folks really understand how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we look at the big picture, but we don't focus on, the customer itself. Right. So that's definitely important. Can you talk about a little bit about MBO CoWorking and what that is and what that does? And
Sure. That was a little pipe dream that I had when I had a couple companies that I was working on, and I would travel to Las Vegas and New York and Toronto, and I was moving around quite a bit, and I would hit these other co-working spaces, and it was great because I had a place to work. I could connect with other people. And when I came back to Ottawa, I realized that there wasn't anything in the market like what was in other places like Los Angeles or Cincinnati or places like that, or Montreal. So I wanted to create that for myself because there were a couple places here, but one of them was a lot of startups. So you got these people straight out of university, they're excited, they're building a thing, but they're 20, 25 years old, and they are knowledgeable, they're skilled, but no experiences yet. And I was sitting there having a conversation with one person, and we were just talking about how business was going, right? We're working next to each other. And I asked him, how are things going? He goes, things are going really well. I think I'm going to be able to clear $46,000 this year. And I just thought to myself, I'm looking to close $40,000 this month.
Yeah.
We're not in the same club.
No.
Right. And I wanted a club where I was going to be working with people that were counterparts who could actually help me grow my business, and where I would be associated with people that were really professionals. They are creative. They don't take themselves too seriously. They don't run around in suits and ties. And they're all within the creative professional space, which means they're engineers, they're artists, they're writers, they're designers. And that's
cool.
kind of what formulated, that was my impetus. That's what I wanted to create, a space for those individuals. I don't need to be a space for everybody.
Yeah.
So when people come in 3-piece suits, I just, nope, not my client.
Oh, yeah. And like, how big is that business? Like, do you have a lot of a client through MBO CoWorking?
So pre-pandemic, yes, I did. I probably have, I have a client list of probably just north of 7,000 now.
Wow.
And so that's the number of people I've just worked with over the years. And over the pandemic, I went from 4 locations and about 34,000 square feet, and the pandemic just took me back down.
I know that was,
And it's all a thing, right? But the way I designed my business was that it was iterative, so I could scale it down and manage my costs or manage my demand based on what my expenses, based on what the demand was. So that allowed me to stay kind of whole through it and sustained. And as a result, I came out. A lot of places closed down through the pandemic. And after that, I'm at 3,000 square feet now. It's a very focused group. I'm able to fill the demand that I have on the space. And now most of my attention is going towards teaching, educating, and coaching entrepreneurs on how to build and start their businesses.
awesome.
So it's just a shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do you keep startup founders focused when distraction and doubts are coming into play?
So the biggest one that I've always seen is 2 things. Imposter syndrome. They don't think that they're actually worth the money that they're charging, or they should be charging.
Yeah.
And they also don't understand how their time and investment works. So they may say, I work for a living and I make $40 an hour. So if I can make $50 an hour as an entrepreneur, that's great. And that's going to be more than enough. And then I run them through the exercise of, okay, how much time do you invest in marketing? How much time do you invest in sales? And if you spend a month's worth of time developing sales and you land 1 client, you got to charge that client for the 140 hours that you just spent.
That's interesting.
Right? Developing.
Yeah.
Because if not, that 140 hours is on you.
Yeah. Right? And I think you can't really match, like, if you work for a company, you're an employee, like what you make there and what you make as an entrepreneur, it doesn't quite match.
No,
it's not the same thing.
It's not the same algorithm that you have to use.
No.
And even with some of myself, other partners and people that I mentor entrepreneurs, very often their spouses have a really hard time wrapping their head around why do you just work 4 hours a day? You should be doing way more than that.
I know.
And they don't understand that, I may work 4 hours a day, but there's this engine that's constantly generating revenue for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I built that engine and it's constantly generating this thing. So it's passively, I may only need to put 4 hours in, but I'm still making $1,000 or $2,000 a day.
Yeah. My wife would tell me this, like if I work less, but sometimes I work a lot and then sometimes I can kind of relax. It just depends. But also we work to get there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You put all the energy in up front to be able to get to the point where you can take your foot off the throttle, but you got to get the momentum built in behind it first.
Exactly. Yeah. It takes time for sure.
So that's one of the things that people really struggle with. And the other thing is also, we actually touched on it earlier, which was really around building that perfect MVP. Don't build a perfect MVP, iterate, get it. The most important thing is get it into the hands of a customer as soon as you can, right? Sell it.
Yeah.
If you're not selling it, it's completely worthless. And there's so many times I've seen people come to me as a coach and they say, here's my business case. And they have this big binder with, 100 pages and all the information and market research and assessments.
Yeah.
And I say, that's fantastic. How long have you been working on this? They're like, I've been working on this for the last year. I'm like, excellent. How much revenue have you generated?
Yeah.
And then the look on their face goes, none.
Yeah.
I'm like, exactly. So their time was invested in the wrong area.
I have a friend that basically works in construction and he has a lot of big ideas and a little bit like like what you said, building a plan, and he would definitely, do that. And he would, when I started my business, he'd tell me, he's like, Jared, you need the business plan, you need this. And my business at that point was just video production.
Yeah.
I didn't really, I just needed clients.
Yeah.
I'm going to film, I'm going to edit. That's my business plan. So that was a very simple idea, but like, I just wanted to get going. And for him, it was like, no, you need a market research. And so sometimes I think, it's best to just try it.
Yeah.
I think.
And what you're doing and you're describing is exactly it. And that's what I advise people when they're building out their business plans. When they start, it should never be more than 5 pages. If it's more than 5 pages, it's too complex.
Yeah.
And when people talk about getting these big binders with 100 pages of a business plan and market assessments and everything, the only time you actually need that, it's not when you're starting out. When you're going for your Series A, that's when the investors and angel investors are going to be like, okay, let's see your business plan, because they need that level of detail. But at that point, you have your market research, you have your customer validation, you have financials for 2 to 3 years. So you can actually validate and support the business plan. But if you build something that big at the beginning, it doesn't mean that any of that is going to come true to pass.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to really kind of pare it down, keep it really simple. I usually recommend people use something like a business canvas. Like the Flourishing Business Canvas or the Strategize the Business Canvas. It's the best way. You spend a day, you map out the really core components, and because it's 1 page, it forces you into constraint, where you only focus on that one thing. And once you have that finished and you have a clear idea of what you want to do, start executing.
Yeah. What's your approach to building a startup that really lasts and doesn't just launch?
So it's understanding, I guess, what your acquisition strategy is for your business. Are you going to be going for consumers or business, or a hybrid between the two? People always talk about, I have a B2B business or a B2C business. And very often, especially with technology today, people forget that you can have a business that is where you're selling to businesses, but the end user of the product is actually your client's users. And then you're servicing the users and providing a service to the users on behalf of the other business. And understanding just that small nuance can make all the difference in terms of how you actually structure a business and how you set up your financials, because it changes who you focus on for your marketing. It changes who you focus on in terms of your product development and who you ask the questions to.
Have you started businesses that you knew right at the start that you were going to sell that business?
Yes, I have. And like when I was working, I started with a company. I partnered with Breather. They were out of Montreal, Julian. Julian Smith was the founder. And I designed a business of meeting rooms, book it on your phone by the hour. I designed, mapped it all out, did all the research, had everything ready. And as I was doing my market research, I found out that he beat me to it by a year. Perfectly fine. I just partnered with him. Right. And we found that our vision and view of the world and how we thought it would work was very much aligned. And if it wasn't going to be aligned, it wasn't going to work. But once we did that, it was very easy to kind of scale that business out. And ultimately, we went from between Ottawa and Montreal, where we started. We had about 14 locations. We got the angel investors once we had demonstrated value. And then we got, I think he received, first round was somewhere around 50 million, then 100, 150. They got about 300 million in investment. And then that kind of scaled us out across internationally. They were in, England and France and Paris and Amsterdam and New York and Miami, and all across Canada. And the objective of that business was ultimately to sell it. It didn't come to pass because the pandemic hit.
Oh, really?
And that business model just collapsed.
My God, yeah.
Right? And that's just part of it. Sometimes that's a risk. But with that being said, we also made money.
Yeah.
It didn't not work. We just didn't have the exit that we were hoping for.
Yeah. How did it go to like when you approached them to partner? How did that go?
That was a little tricky at first because I had messaged Julian cold. right? Sales.
Yeah,
You got to just sometimes pick up the phone, send an email. And he was busy, right? He's a founder. He's starting a company. He's got tons on his plate.
Yeah.
And eventually I just sent him a message and I said, yo, bro, call me back. And I hung up. He's like, yo, bro. He's like, okay, you can call this guy back. I set up a meeting and then we met face to face. And once I got him face to face, that's when the relationship kind of clicked.
Then it
worked really well from there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool. So last question. If someone, is sitting on a business idea and hasn't moved, what's the first action that they should take or any advice for them to move forward?
First action, find a customer. Find a customer. And this is something a friend of mine, a partner of mine gave me years ago. He said, find a customer. And when they say, hey, how long is that going to take? And if you think it's going to take 2 months, tell them 4, and then bust your ass and build it and deliver.
That's good.
Right? And it doesn't matter if it's a training course, right? Start selling the course and say, hey, our course is launching. It's now July. This first intake is going to be in October.
Yeah.
And once you get 20 sales, you're like, frig, I better start delivering.
Better make that course.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Otherwise, you're going to be giving people money back, and you don't want to do that.
No.
So that sometimes is one of the best motivators. Just build it.
Yeah.
The idea of build it and they come doesn't exist. Build it, market the fuck out of it. Someone might show up.
Yeah.
But if you find a customer
before,
that's the way you do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't apply to every business.
No.
Like a friend of mine, Loic, he has a business where he's building fintech, a fintech product for stock markets and banking regulations. That kind of a product has to be fully baked and developed because there's so much regulation around it.
Yeah.
But that is one of the few types of businesses where you have to have that level of maturity before you launch.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. Anything you want to add before we finish, or where can we reach you? And
easiest place is on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
right. And send me a message on LinkedIn at Eric McRae.
Yeah.
Or you can always use my website MBO CoWorking.com.
Perfect.
And either one hits me directly.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, Eric.